I never thought Alex Thompson, my husband, would betray me. We met in high school, fell in love in college, and built our dream together after graduation. When our startup received its Series A funding, Alex got down on one knee and proposed to me under the sunset. Everyone saw us as the perfect couple, a flawless love story. I believed it too. This morning, he was still clinging to me before leaving for work, wrapping his arms around me from behind, whispering sweet words. I laughed, scolded him for being indecent even as he was getting older. In truth, it wasn't that there weren't signs. Recently, Alex had changed. He was more passionate, as if we had returned to those days of being madly in love 10 years ago. The sudden hugs, the hurried kisses, the nights he came home late after work, but still wanted to be close to me before falling asleep. It was exactly because of that, when his phone slipped out of his pocket, he didn't notice at all. I picked it up, intending to put it back, but the screen lit up and the message flashed across like a blade. "Thank you for tonight's movie." The sender was Sophia. I knew her. Sophia, Alex's college classmate, the girl who had just returned from France 3 months ago. We had met at her welcome party, her eyes gleaming as she talked about Paris, the cobblestone streets, and glasses of wine. Alex stood beside me, his arm around my waist, laughing loudly when she teased him about his awkward college days. I thought it was just harmless old memories. I opened the chat with Sophia on Alex's phone. Only one message. No history, nothing else. I checked his friend list, empty as well, but my instincts told me something was wrong. I set his phone down, nudged his shoulder. "Don't you have a party tonight?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. He mumbled, eyes still closed, pulling me into his arms. "No drinking, just took them to the movies." "Them?" I pushed him away with my elbow, creating distance. When his breathing steadied again, I quietly took my phone, opened Instagram. Sophia had sent me a friend request after that party 3 months ago. She had once sent me a message, but by the time I saw it, it had been unsent. Back then, I thought she had just sent it by mistake. Now I knew I was wrong. Her Instagram wasn't as empty as I thought. The latest post, 2 hours ago. "The night breeze and you, both so sweet." Attached was a photo of 2 hands intertwined on a movie theater seat. One slender, delicate hand, one large, strong, familiar hand. In the corner of the picture, I saw part of a watch. The 5-year anniversary gift I had given Alex, its face glinting under the dim theater light. My heart skipped a beat. When Alex and I first met, we were both poor. He was poor, I was poor. Forget about watches, we couldn't even afford a cheap one. The first time I saw him was at a scholarship interview for underprivileged students. The number of scholarships was so limited that we had to write essays about our hardships and face a panel. At that age, everyone wanted to keep a little pride, but harsh reality forced people to bow their heads. I stood before the panel, hands trembling, my voice breaking from nervousness. Alex, a tall, skinny boy with bright eyes, stepped up beside me. "I'm sorry, I give up my scholarship," he said firmly. Then he pulled me out of the room, his eyes showing no hesitation. That was our first year of high school. After Alex withdrew, a few other boys followed. A teacher, his face red with anger, canceled the entire absurd interview. The second time we met again, we were already in college. Not the same school, but the same city. One day, he texted me, "Didn't you have pretty good math scores? There's a tutoring job for math that pays well. Do you want to try?" From those small exchanges, we grew closer. Alex's household had 2 sick relatives, and medical costs drained everything, forcing him to spin like a top, juggling part-time jobs everywhere. I was a little better off, only covering tuition and living expenses, but still counting every penny, never daring to spend more than $1 on a meal. Back then, we never even dreamed of owning a house, a car, or a company of our own. But life changes, and people do too. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains, golden but cold. Alex went to work as usual, his footsteps light as if nothing had happened. Before he left, I asked, my voice strangely calm, "Will you be working late tonight?" He froze for a moment, turned back to look at me, his brows slightly furrowed. "Why?" I didn't answer, just shook my head. He leaned down, hugged me like every other day, his voice soft. "I'll try to come home early tonight." His smile was still warm, but now it felt like a thin blade cutting into me. When the door shut, the apartment sank into silence. I picked up my phone, opened Sophia's Instagram again. She had come back from France in March. April, they had dinner together. A photo of a fancy table, candlelight glowing dimly, the corner of Alex's suit sleeve slipping into the frame. May, they went for a night walk by the river, his tall figure beside her, streetlights casting shadows across his familiar shoulders. June, visiting the old campus, Sophia beaming in front of the university sign, Alex's hand accidentally caught in the corner of the shot, holding a cup of coffee. Most recently, the movie night, with their fingers interlaced, and the watch I gave him gleaming in the dark. Her profile didn't have many posts, but every single one was under close friends, as if deliberately set that way for me to see, specifically to remind me of Alex's affair. To be honest, Sophia and I were never that close. She studied the same major as Alex and was the campus beauty of Stanford. The first time I met her was in Stanford's auditorium. Back then, Alex and I weren't officially dating yet. It was the end of semester event, and I had splurged on a cup of coffee to thank him for referring me to a tutoring job. I held the warm cup, the heat seeping through the thin paper sleeve, trying to hide my awkwardness as I handed it to him. Sophia, representing the outstanding students, stepped up to the stage to speak. Under the bright lights, her chestnut curls shimmered, her slim figure wrapped in a pristine white dress, her elegant manner of speaking, and resonant voice like music. I couldn't help but nudge Alex's arm beside me, eyes still fixed on the stage. "Alex, she's so beautiful," I whispered, full of admiration. Sophia truly was beautiful, so beautiful that I was completely drawn in, forgetting to notice Alex's expression. Later, I learned Sophia was the college crush of many. At Stanford, out of every 10 guys, 5 openly pursued her, 4 silently admired her, and 1. Maybe that one was Alex. I once joked and asked him gently, "You mean you don't like Sophia?" He quickly pulled me onto the bus, gripping my hand tightly, speaking fast. "People busy working at night don't have time to look at the moon." I laughed, thinking it was just a witty line, but now, looking back, there was a hint of bitterness in his voice. I don't know when it happened, but Alex and I grew closer. At first, we only exchanged information and work tips. After he introduced me to the part-time job, whenever I found anything suitable, I'd send it his way too. Later, we worked together at an education center and occasionally bumped into each other on the bus. After long night shifts, he would walk me back to the dorm. Back then, I didn't think I'd ever fall for him. He was smart, handsome, had that cold exterior. Alongside Sophia, he often appeared in Stanford's Reddit confessions, admiring posts, secret stories. Maybe it was because of our shared background, or because of the old bond, that he looked out for me more. But then he confessed. At the beginning of our senior year, beneath the dorm, someone had laid out candles in the shape of a heart, glowing in the night. "Emily! Emily!" A group of boys chanted my name, their laughter echoing across the building, stirring up the whole dorm. I didn't know them. I hid in my room, heart pounding, too scared to go down. I've always been introverted and shy. More than that, I had a father who was an alcoholic. Growing up, whenever he was displeased, he'd hit and yell, his shouting bouncing off the narrow walls. I feared tall, unfamiliar men. In our freshman year, when Alex pulled me out of the scholarship interview room, it was the first time I wasn't repulsed by someone's physical contact. Only with Alex did I feel safe, sometimes even excited enough to grab his arm, like when I saw Sophia looking like a fairy tale princess. The shouting and teasing dragged on for nearly an hour. When I didn't come out, they started mocking me. "Emily, stop acting like you're something. Look at yourself! 3 outfits a year. We came to do charity." The whole dorm burst out laughing, their voices like knives cutting through me. I just wanted to shrink into a corner, like when I was a child being hit by my father, body curled up, tears rolling down. I didn't know when Alex showed up. His eyes were bloodshot with rage. Ignoring my resistance, he pulled me out, his grip tight, as if afraid I'd vanish. With a fierce look, he dragged me in front of the group. Before anyone could react, he landed a punch on the guy leading them. The sound was sharp and loud, blood bursting from his nose. Alex had just won a design award and shared his experience at my school days earlier, so many recognized him. No one intervened at first. By the time people reacted, he had stopped, breathing heavily. He turned around, pulled me away, and led me out of there. Footsteps hurried under the night sky. It was the second time he had saved me, and from that moment on, I knew my heart belonged to him. I couldn't hold it in. I burst into tears, my vision blurred by sobs. "Why did you hit him?" I choked, my voice trembling. "If they make a scene, it'll affect you." "Aren't you planning to go to grad school? Don't you still want to protect your research scholarship?" I grabbed his shirt, panicking. "Why did you come to my dorm at this hour?" Alex looked at me, the anger in his eyes slowly fading, like a flame extinguished by rain. He stepped closer, closer than ever before, his breath brushing against my hair. His hand, rough but warm, gently wiped the tears rolling down my cheeks, each drop leaving behind a burning trail. "Someone's trying to pick my rose," he said, his voice low and steady. "How could I not come?" I stood frozen, my heart pounding like it might explode. "I'm not going to grad school," he continued, locking eyes with me. "Someone's investing in my design work." "Emily, be my girlfriend." He leaned in, and his lips touched mine, just barely, a kiss as gentle as the night breeze. I looked up, suddenly seeing the moon glowing brightly in the sky, as if it were witnessing the moment my heart gave itself to him. Truth is, I really liked Alex. Really, really liked him. He was my knight, the one who pulled me out of the darkness. He didn't know that. The day I got his message about the tutoring job, my bank account was exactly at zero. My father had gotten drunk and hurt someone, and the tiny savings I had went toward compensation. But why did he like me? Why did he suddenly want me to be his girlfriend? Every time I asked, he just smiled and asked back, "Why wouldn't I like you?" His voice was warm. But now, thinking back, if I remember correctly, Sophia finalized her study abroad procedures at the beginning of that same year. I gripped my phone tightly, my fingers trembling. And right then, Sophia's Instagram updated. A short status, sharp as a knife. "Tonight is worth looking forward to." No picture, no details, but it was enough to make my chest tighten. I stood up, bare feet touching the icy wooden floor, and stepped outside. I had an appointment with a fertility specialist. 2 years ago, I left A&E Tech to focus on my health, preparing for the dream of starting a small family. Alex and I wanted a child, but no matter how regularly we visited the clinic, the results were always the same. Head shakes. The doctor, in her white coat, ended the session with a sigh. "Sometimes it just takes the right timing and relaxation," she said gently, though her voice couldn't hide its helplessness. "If it's not happening, don't force it. Try to ease the stress." I lowered my head. I understood. I used to say, "Just prescribe it. I'm not afraid of meds." But today, I said nothing. I simply nodded, stood up, my hand gripping the strap of my purse tightly. "Wait," the doctor called as I turned to leave. "You look pale." "Let's switch to a different treatment plan." I stopped, looked at her, but all I could hear in my head was Sophia's status, echoing like a siren. Was I forcing something with Alex? Number. From the beginning, I knew he and I were different. We were both poor students, but he dared to say no to the school's unreasonable rules. Refusing the scholarship was genuine. He'd rather skip night classes to work than accept reluctant support. We were both poor, but he got into Stanford and I into UC Berkeley. Even in college, he shouldered his family's medical bills, while I struggled just to feed myself. He carried a quiet pride, always looking ahead with his chin held high, while I was buried in self-doubt and inferiority. I knew he wouldn't stay stuck in those circumstances forever. When he came closer to me, I was joyful, grateful, and responded sincerely, like a flower blooming in warm light. Those early startup years were brutal, like walking a tightrope over a canyon. He handled the technical side. I handled the market, running around from meeting to meeting. My alcoholic father gave me no proper family, no fatherly love, but he gifted me the ability to hold my liquor. 6 a.m. flights, dragging luggage across cold airport tiles. 2 a.m. still at networking events in smoky bars with pounding music. From a girl who'd never left her hometown and feared strange men, I became Miss Hayes, the one who smiled, shook hands, raised a glass, even as my heart pounded in my chest. The first pregnancy happened in our second year after graduation. I was too busy traveling between cities to notice missed cycles, just constant exhaustion. By the time I realized, it was 3 months in, and for those 3 months I had been drinking nonstop. We lost the baby. The pain ripped through me, blood flowed, and the grief was sharp as a knife. The second time, it was alcohol again. I had stopped traveling for work, but my name still carried weight. Investors wanted to network over drinks, thick with liquor. A&E Tech was about to take off. It was Alex's dream, our shared dream. I didn't turn anyone down, toasting glass after glass. Eventually, I collapsed in a bathroom, vomiting violently, the metallic stench overpowering. Then I felt it. A warm stream between my legs, deep red on the white tile floor. Before I could even register what was happening, that baby too was gone. From then on, my body was never the same. Persistent aches, sleepless nights. 2 years ago, I finally paused everything, focusing only on my health. "Did you get your meds?" Alex texted. The words lit up my screen like a familiar alarm. "Yes," I replied quickly. "Dinner tonight?" "Okay." I stared at the screen, my heart racing just a bit, and finally I couldn't hold it in. "No overtime tonight?" "No." I let out a breath, like unloading a quiet weight. Maybe it's just me overthinking. I started the car. The engine rumbled, and my mood lifted slightly. I cooked a big meal, all of Alex's favorites. The smell of grilled meat filled the kitchen, sizzling sounds from the hot pan. These past few years, when we weren't busy, we were sweet like newlyweds again. Alex brought home a bouquet of bright red roses, velvety petals, sweet scent. "It's not Valentine's, not an anniversary, why buy flowers?" We didn't worry about money, but we were still frugal, preferring to sponsor underprivileged students than spend on luxuries. Alex was in a good mood. He said nothing, just arranged the flowers gently into the vase, handling each stem with care. Dinner was cheerful. "It's A&E Tech's 10-year anniversary. Any ideas?" he asked, eyes sparkling. I thought for a bit, shook my head. "Don't make it too flashy." Then, realizing the company was now public, I added, "You decide?" "I left 2 years ago." "Yeah." He set his fork down. The metal clinked dryly against the plate. "I've got some guests coming tonight." My hand froze, fork midair. Alex looked up. "I'm signing a contract with them. I'll be back soon." I looked at him, those familiar eyes calm as ever. "I'll do the dishes when I get home." He stood up, a fleeting smile. "Alex!" I called, my voice slightly shaking. He turned. The guy in a white tee from back then, was now a man in a crisp white shirt, broad shoulders, steady frame. "What is it?" "Nothing." He looked at me, leaned down, kissed me like always. His lips were warm, but felt cold tonight. "I'll try to come back early." I knew exactly where he was going. Near A and E Tech, there's a stadium. I drove there, and sure enough, Alex's car was parked under the streetlights, sleek and gleaming. I sat in my car, hands trembling as I picked up my phone. The stadium looked deserted, wind brushing through the cracked windows. But Sophia's Instagram wasn't quiet. She posted a 9-photo carousel, glittering lights. Never imagined. A private concert just for me. I had braced myself, but still, the tears came, hot and heavy on my cheeks. I never thought Alex would spend this much for a pretty girl's smile. So, it was always the first love. It wasn't that he didn't have time for the moon back then, he just didn't want to. Now, not only did he gaze at it, he could reach out and touch it. I don't know what I was waiting for, maybe who I was waiting for. I sat there gripping the wheel, heart pounding. An hour later, Alex walked out with Sophia. He opened the car door for her, shielding her with his arm before gently closing it. My car was in the shadows across the street. No one noticed me. He started the car, and I followed. My driving skills aren't great, so I stayed close, headlights flickering. If he were paying attention, he would have seen me. But he wasn't. His mind was with Sophia, his eyes fixed only on her. Until he dropped her off at home. Sophia came from wealth, lived in a secluded villa neighborhood, few cars, lots of trees. They got out, lingered. Their hands brushed, she giggled. I couldn't hear clearly, only saw her tiptoe, arms around his neck, her face turned up, hair swaying in the breeze. Alex stood still, hands in pockets, cold and detached as usual, but his eyes were locked on her lips, dark with intensity. Sophia leaned in further, murmuring something sweet. Suddenly, Alex wrapped his arms around her waist and kissed her hard, mouth on mouth, rough and wild. I heard a ripping sound inside me, like my heart tearing apart. Something stabbed deep and sharp. I should have looked away, but I didn't. I watched them kiss hungrily, hands roaming, breaths ragged. The man who was always gentle in bed with me, turns out he had this side too, raw and animalistic. I should have run, like I did as a child when my father's blows became unbearable. But instead, I stepped out of the car, my feet steady on the cold pavement. I was no longer that timid, frightened Emily who only knew how to hide. I walked closer, stared with my own eyes. "Alex," I called, my voice calm, but cold as ice. His shoulders jerked like he'd been electrocuted. He tried to pull away, but Sophia clung to him, arms locked around his neck. They struggled. Alex grabbed Sophia's hand, shielding her behind him, his stance protective. I couldn't help it. I laughed, a dry, brittle laugh that echoed into the night. Alex knew I wasn't the old me anymore. Afraid I'd lay a hand on Sophia? I looked at him, his eyes panicked. Rare for him. His lips moved, but no words came out. His face pale under the streetlight. I stopped laughing, turned my back, and walked away. I didn't look back. Alex and I rarely fought. In memory, only once. At a fundraising gala, I hid the fact that I drank nonstop, toasting guest after guest. When I miscarried and bled badly, he was furious, eyes blazing. "Emily, don't you trust me at all? Do you really have to be this strong?" In the end, he held me, crying uncontrollably, hot tears soaking my clothes. "Emily, I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. Emily, trust me. I'll give you a good life." I always believed in Alex, that he was special, that he'd keep his wedding vow and give me a warm home, those whispered promises on our wedding night. I now realized what I had been waiting for. Even though the truth was clear, even though Sophia's Instagram had already proven it all, deep down, I still held on to one thin hope, that it was just a misunderstanding. I was waiting for Alex to shatter that hope himself, so I could finally let go. But when I truly gave up, the sky didn't fall like I imagined. I didn't even cry. Not like when I saw those 9 pictures from Sophia. I was eerily calm. While I was still sitting in the car, I had already called the lawyer. My voice, over the phone, was cold and resolute. 2 hours later, Alex came home. I was standing in the middle of the bedroom, suitcase wide open, clothes folded neatly inside. He stood silently at the door, his tall frame casting a long shadow across the wooden floor, eyes watching me pack, each shirt carefully folded, like I was folding away 10 years of our life together. Just as I was about to zip it shut, he stepped forward and touched my hand to stop me. "There's nothing going on between me and Sophia," he said, voice low but slightly trembling, like he was trying to stay calm. I looked at his hand, the same hand that had just pulled Sophia into a wild kiss. I yanked mine back, firm and resolute. "Emily!" he called, voice pleading, brows slightly furrowed, eyes wavering between worry and helplessness. I let go of the suitcase and walked out to the living room. He exhaled, quietly trailing behind, as if thinking I was softening. On the coffee table lay the freshly printed divorce agreement. "Take a look. There's no issue with the finances," I said, my tone calm but ice cold. Alex glanced down, his eyes flicking over the words, "divorce agreement," his face paling, lips pressing into a tight line. "Emily, I told you, there's nothing going on with Sophia," he repeated, firmer this time, like trying to convince himself. My expression must have looked strange. Anger, heartbreak, and even a little amusement. I looked at him, the man who once meant everything to me, now standing there, feigning innocence. "Alex, do you think I'm blind?" I asked, my voice sharp as a blade. Only then did it click for him that I had actually witnessed him kissing Sophia. His face went white, but only for a moment. He quickly composed himself, like an actor changing roles on stage. "Emily," he said, gently taking my hand, voice soft, innocent, almost helpless. "It was just about finishing a youthful dream." "A youthful dream?" "A youthful dream." That's when my eyes turned red. "You were my youthful dream, Alex. Your youthful dream was Sophia, the radiant girl you once claimed you didn't even have time to look at. Honestly, he could have just told me. Stopping someone from chasing their dream isn't exactly a crime, right? Good thing. It's not too late." I slid the divorce agreement toward him. Alex looked only into my tear-rimmed eyes, a rare moment of panic in his gaze. "Emily, don't cry. There's really nothing going on between me and Sophia," he pleaded, stepping closer, trying to lift my face, voice urgent. "There's nothing between us." I brushed his hand away, movement sharp, eyes cold. Suddenly, I understood why he kept saying nothing. If they hadn't slept together, then to him, it didn't count. Right? My almost tears dried up in an instant. I wanted to laugh, a bitter laugh. "Alex, look it over tomorrow if you're free," I said, tapping lightly on the papers, standing up and walking away. I pulled the suitcase behind me. The sound of its wheels rolling across the wooden floor was like the echo of my heart breaking. I left the home that once belonged to me and Alex, once full of memories. He didn't stop me. He just stood there, silent, like he knew me. Like when I caught him with Sophia. He didn't chase after me, just came home 2 hours later. He thought that when I was angry, I was hard to talk to, and when I calmed down, I'd remember the good in him and forgive. But this time, he was wrong. The next day, I met with lawyer Mark Davis, an old acquaintance who had seen Alex and me build our lives from the start. The agreement I brought last night was a rough draft I had dictated. The details needed in-person discussion. A&E Tech was founded the year we graduated. Its shares were premarital assets. Marital assets were mainly dividends and salaries, which could be split 50-50. The house was in both names. I didn't want it. Before marriage, he had gifted me 2 other homes. I wasn't returning those either. The rest? There wasn't much. In the office, the air smelled faintly of old paper and coffee. I sat across from him. "Miss Hayes, are you sure about this divorce?" he asked, voice low, eyes filled with regret. "Yes," I answered, short and simple. I didn't want to drag it out. He looked like he wanted to say something, but only sighed, quietly pushing his glasses up. I knew what he was thinking. He'd been with A&E Tech since the first project, watched me pour my life into getting the company public, raising Alex to CEO. And now I was walking away, like handing over the harvest just before it ripens. A young, handsome, capable man, straying a little. Typical, maybe, in his eyes. But I didn't care. "If Alex has any conditions, contact me," I said, standing, handbag heavy on my shoulder. Davis nodded, walked me to the door, his eyes dim. He worked quickly. That night, my phone buzzed nonstop. Several messages from Alex popped up, then disappeared before I could read them. Only one remained. "Emily, don't cause a scene." I understood why he said that, just like when he calmly told me it was just a youthful dream. He was convinced I couldn't leave him, because he knew I loved him. Because I loved him, I kept breaking myself to build a new Emily, stronger, sharper, nothing like the timid girl I once was. Because I loved him, I did all the things I hated most. Drank endlessly, networked relentlessly, even endured clients who eyed me like a piece of meat. I saw him as the light of my life. How could I leave? How could I file for divorce? But now, that light had gone out. I didn't reply to Alex's messages. He didn't call either. For years, whenever we had conflict, his tactic was always to wait it out, let me cool down, wait for me to come back. I listed the 2 houses he gave me for sale, along with the wedding ring and jewelry he'd gifted over the years. Those sparkling symbols of love, now just burdens. I had someone spread word that I was preparing to sell my A&E Tech shares. Alex must have caught wind of it. He messaged, "Emily, know when to stop." I still didn't respond, just quietly kept moving forward. Thinking back, I realized I didn't have many ties left in San Francisco. My alcoholic father was diagnosed with liver cancer the year I graduated. He passed within months. My mother had been kicked out when I was 7 and never returned, like she never existed. I was lonely in school, had few friends. After graduation, the people I knew were all connected to A&E Tech. Colleagues, not friends. Even pets. I had always dreamed of a little dog running around the house, but never got one because Alex didn't like animals. The 2 houses were in great locations, sold quickly. The jewelry, priced low, was mostly gone too. Only one diamond ring remained. A&E Tech had a high valuation. The moment news broke about my plans to sell shares, several investors contacted me, voices buzzing with excitement over the phone. Some, sensing cracks between me and Alex, made offers, eyes sharp like they were trying to read me. I met with a few, mapped out my path, and made preparations. Everything was ready. All that was left was Alex's signature. Right before the 10-year anniversary of A&E Tech, my phone buzzed lightly. A message from Alex appeared. 10 years of A&E Tech, 10 years of love. Emily, don't be mad anymore. I'll wait for you tomorrow. I stared at the words, slid my finger across the screen, and replied simply, "Okay?" The glow of the screen reflected onto my face in the dark room, as cold as the hollow inside me. Just before leaving, Instagram buzzed. Sophia had messaged, "President Hayes isn't attending A&E Tech's anniversary tonight?" Attached was a screenshot of her chat with Alex. "It's fine. You're with President Hayes. I won't bother." Alex had replied, "Don't wonder. I'm coming to get you." I stared at the screenshot, fingers tightening around the phone, chest constricting. Sophia was clever. After I caught her with Alex, she deleted every post that was only visible to me. She never contacted me. I didn't move, so neither did she, a silent war. She knew how to save face, not leaving behind evidence of ruining someone's marriage. Even this message, to outsiders, looked like she was being considerate about my relationship with Alex. But in reality, she must have seen the message Alex sent me yesterday. Look at this. He told me 10 years of love. Told me he'd wait. Then left to pick her up. A clean stab to the gut. I replied, Miss, Lee doesn't drive. Of course he should pick her up. Sophia responded quickly, President Hayes is so generous. I tossed the phone onto the passenger seat, the sound thudding against the leather, my hand gripping the wheel tighter. Of course I'm generous. What I was about to do would be even more generous. The event was lively, people coming and going, laughter echoing in the light-filled hall. Nearly all A&E Tech employees were present, dressed sharply in suits and dazzling gowns. A famous singer was performing, the press cameras flashing nonstop. Alex looked thrilled, smiling brightly, holding my hand, fingers warm and firm, brushing hair from my cheek, shielding me from alcohol with a hand over my glass. During the intermission, he pulled me onto the balcony. Night breeze cool with a hint of roses. Knew you'd go simple like always, he said softly, clasping a jewel necklace around my neck, the blue gem sparkling under the moonlight. Do you like it? I glanced at the icy blue stone, cold as a glacier, and said nothing. Alex held me in his arms, his breath brushing my hair. He knew I had a soft spot for shiny things. Whenever we argued, he'd go quiet, then later bring jewelry to patch things up. It became a habit. But this time, before any words could be spoken, there was a knock on the balcony door, a dry, hollow knock. Mr. Thompson, Miss Lee's phone fell in water. She needs to borrow yours to contact the performer. Alex's embrace stiffened, then released. I'll go check, he said quickly, turning back as he left. Emily, there's nothing between me and her. I watched his back disappear behind the door and let out a quiet, bitter laugh. Before the show started, people were seated, chairs shuffling. Alex and Sophia were still absent. Just before the room filled, they entered, Sophia glowing, Alex a shade too pale. From afar, Sophia spotted the necklace on my neck. Her face paused, eyes flashing with envy. Then she masked it, raised her hand, showing off a diamond ring larger than my wedding band, shining under the lights. Nice taste, I said calmly the moment Alex sat down. He didn't get it. Turned to look at me, eyebrows furrowed. I glanced at him again, handed him a napkin. Your mouth! The lipstick hadn't fully come off, red stains smudged. Alex wiped it, stashed the tissue, then uncomfortably held my hand. I'll explain tonight, he whispered. I didn't answer, didn't pull my hand away either, but I saw Sophia shooting daggers at me from across, jaw clenched with jealousy. She didn't need to be. She was about to get everything she wanted. After Alex's opening speech, the main performance began. Flashing lights, thunderous applause. As tradition, Alex opened, I closed. Though I'd left A&E Tech 2 years ago, many executives still remembered our sleepless nights building the company together. As I stepped on stage, the room erupted. Someone shouted, Ms. Hayes! They still called me that, a mark of respect. I smiled, raised a hand to quiet them. All eyes were on me. Actually, tonight I have some great news to share. The room buzzed, whispers spreading. A familiar employee joked loudly, Is A&E Tech expecting a little heir? Laughter exploded. Everyone knew I had stepped back for 2 years to prepare for motherhood. Happy news? Of course they thought it was that. The spotlight turned to Alex. The big screen zoomed in on his face. He looked hopeful, eyes gleaming. Not quite, I smiled, voice calm. It's even. Better. The hall grew louder. Emily, don't tease us. Tell us, we're ready for CEO Thompson to throw a party. I chuckled. He should throw one. I paused, scanning the room. Signed the divorce agreement. And A&E Tech is about to partner with Lee Enterprises. Congratulations to Mr. Thompson and Ms. Lee. May you two find everlasting happiness. The room fell into a deafening silence, like time froze. On the big screen, Alex stood abruptly, his face drained of all color. Beside him, Sophia looked around in shock, face ghost white, hand covering her mouth. Just one night, and A&E Tech was dragged into a media storm. Headlines flooded. VP of A&E Tech publicly divorces CEO. 10-year power couple splits. Lee Harris exposed as mistress. My phone exploded with notifications. I turned it off. But before that, I texted lawyer Davis. Push Alex to sign. If he refuses, I'll leak more. Let it burn a few days. Yes, I had played my final move. I had packed my bags, ready to leave. But in the parking lot, Alex blocked me, his tall figure cast beneath neon lights. Just 2 hours, and he looked like he'd aged 2 decades. Hollow cheeks, dark circles. He looked at me, disappointed. Emily, that was too much. Even now, he thought I was just trying to get attention, not that I truly wanted a divorce. I rolled my suitcase forward. He blocked me, grabbed my wrist. Emily, you've gone too far. There's no fixing this now fixing. I only wanted him to sign. He wouldn't move. Emily, you always do this. Run away when something happens. Why can't you talk to me? I kicked my suitcase hard. It slammed down, wheels spinning. You really want me to talk? Alex froze. Didn't expect me to be this angry. Fine, I'll talk. I want a divorce. Divorce. I don't need you. I don't need A&E Tech. You think I loved A&E Tech? I loved the man behind it. And that man, you, don't even know that. Alex stood stunned. His voice softened, trembling. I'm sorry, Emily. I'm so sorry. He stepped forward, hand reaching for my shoulder, breath unsteady. Don't touch me. I slapped his hand away, voice sharp as glass. His face turned pale, eyes red. Emily, I told you, she and I… Yes, yes. You didn't sleep with her, so it doesn't count, right? My head spun. Tell me, Alex, when we were in bed lately, who were you thinking about? That intensity, that passion, since Sophia came back. Alex's lips trembled. No words, eyes darting away. I already knew, like a knife twisting in my chest. I didn't say anything before, not because I was running, but because I wanted to keep the version of Alex I once loved. But this Alex, right now, disgusts me. Alex's body shook, eyes wet. Emily, no, it's not like that. I pushed my suitcase and walked past him. I didn't look back. Where are you going? Those companies I contacted? Yes, they're small, unknown. Emily, we built this life together. I gave up on driving, waved for a taxi, arm raised into the cold night. Emily, you're 32, not 23. So what? I turned, voice like a blade. Is that your excuse for cheating? Yes, I'm 32, but I'm not the girl who needed you anymore. And Alex, at 32, you're no longer worthy of my love. I didn't want to argue anymore, didn't want to shred our memories to pieces. I sobbed in the taxi, tears rolling, chest heaving. Alex at 15, pulling me out of that interview room. 18, texting me when I had 0. 20, shielding me from crowds. 21, punching those who mocked me. Someone wants to pick my rose. How could I not come? 23, smiling, circling a line in my book. There are thousands of roses in the world, but this one is mine. 25, on one knee. Marry me. 27, crying in my arms. Emily, I'll give you a good life. All those memories built the fortress of my life. But Alex at 32 destroyed it all in one night. The taxi driver awkwardly offered tissues. Miss, you're still young. Life's still beautiful. I took it, wiped my face, streetlights streaming past the window. He's right. 10 years. 17 years. I still have many more 10s and 17s ahead. So many more. I blocked all contact from Alex, only allowing communication through lawyers to handle the divorce. As I expected, the 10-year anniversary celebration of A&E Tech didn't cause any major fallout. For A&E Tech, it was actually good news. Although Alex's affair being exposed could have caused fluctuations in stock prices, the fact that the third party was Sophia, daughter of Lee Enterprises, meant the potential business benefit outweighed morality. Just like how this world works. If Alex married Sophia, A and E Tech and Lee Enterprises would merge their power, reinforcing confidence in the future. A perfect merger on paper. But the label mistress clung to Sophia like black ink on white paper. I didn't feel guilty. Wasn't that exactly what she wanted? 3 months after I left San Francisco, Alex signed the divorce papers. That day, I got an email from him. Short, cold. He signed due to board pressure, not because he wanted to. He said he wasn't marrying Sophia. I read it, didn't care, flew back to complete the legal process, and blocked his email, cutting off the last remnant of a 10-year chapter. When public opinion leaned in A and E Tech's favor, I sold my shares. Each transaction felt like a blade, severing the final thread to the past. And then the divorce was finalized. I no longer had any ties to San Francisco. Instead of negotiating with the companies I'd contacted earlier, I partnered with an investor to build a new company from scratch. This time, everything started at zero, but I wasn't afraid. I still had many more 10s and 17s ahead of me. I stood in my new office, staring out the glass window, sunlight spilling across an empty desk, as if promising a clean beginning. The following May, Sophia messaged me out of nowhere. A photo, a positive pregnancy test, 2 bright red lines like a declaration. I'm pregnant. Congrats to me, I stared at it, scrolling without a ripple in my chest. She and Alex still hadn't registered their marriage, had they? I'd heard her father, CEO of Lee Enterprises, was obsessed with reputation. When the affair first went public, he nearly kicked her out of the company. I didn't care. I was deep into my new project and had simply forgotten to block her. A few days later, another message. You're already divorced and still clinging to him? Are you hoping to be his mistress now? I laughed out loud, looked up a mental health clinic, sent her the link, and blocked her. In July, an old colleague from A and E Tech messaged, Alex was acting crazy, going everywhere looking for me, telling people I should be careful. I didn't think much of it. I hadn't been hiding my whereabouts. Los Angeles is huge, and I wasn't afraid of running into him. In the first year after leaving San Francisco, my company's product made a minor breakthrough. I was once again out pitching, selling, finding clients. But now I had negotiation skills that didn't rely on forced smiles or bar banter. With solid capital and deeper experience, everything was easier than my early A and E Tech days. By year-end, revenue had skyrocketed, and at the celebration party, the clink of glasses rang out. No smell of smoke, no leering eyes. One of our partners clapped my back, laughing loudly. Emily, you're incredible. Never met anyone like you. Then he added, grinning, Emily, want me to introduce you to some great guys? I raised my glass, eyes sharp, smiling. So CEO George thinks a woman's worth is tied to marriage? I might need to reconsider deeper partnerships with you. He went pale, laughed nervously, and never brought up love or marriage around me again. In my second year away from San Francisco, another old colleague messaged. Alex's mother had passed, asked if I'd attend the funeral. I thought about it all night. The soft glow of the lamp casting shadows on the ceiling, memories of Alex's mom filling my mind. A kind woman with a warm smile. His father had chronic kidney failure and couldn't work early on. The family's money went to medical expenses. His mother had a heart condition and couldn't do hard labor, but the two of them always supported each other, never once fought, like the family I never had. When Alex and I were in love, I loved visiting his home, listening to her stories about him as a child, learning the dishes he liked. Sadly, his father passed before we ever became successful. His mother insisted on staying in a nursing home, didn't want to be a burden. The year I left San Francisco, I went to say goodbye to her. She was the embodiment of the mother figure I'd always dreamed of, held me in an embrace so warm, like a love I had never known. I whispered about my startup to her gravestone, wind rustling the trees above. As I turned to leave, Alex stood at the cemetery gate, tall, lean, the sunlight casting shadows across his face. After so long apart, There was something unfamiliar in his eyes, but I didn't flinch. I greeted him politely, my voice soft. He offered to walk me to the parking lot. We didn't say much, just the sound of our footsteps on gravel. Before I got into my car, he called out, "Emily!" I turned. The sunlight hit his face, highlighting the new creases around his eyes. He paused a long time before speaking. "If you ever run into technical trouble, you can still call me." I smiled, voice even. "Okay. Thanks." I opened the door, hit the gas, and watched his figure shrink in the rearview mirror until it disappeared, like closing the final chapter of a book. Our project kept progressing well, but A&E Tech was no longer the A&E Tech we once knew. Within a year, Alex sold all his shares and stepped down. Lee Enterprises took over. By the end of last year, Lee Enterprises was accused of bribery, and A&E Tech couldn't escape the fallout. This morning, I read an online article analyzing the collapse of A&E Tech's structure. I messaged George, half joking, "No worries. As long as CEO George and I don't marry and then divorce, no structural risks, right?" George replied immediately, with a nervous voice note. "Emily, maybe don't joke like that in the company group chat next time." I laughed loudly, the sound echoing through my office. Unexpectedly, on that same happy day, my car broke down on the way to work. The engine screeched, then died. After calling roadside assistance, I got stuck in rush hour traffic, horns blaring everywhere. Worse, I had a crucial investor meeting. Hugging my documents, I ran through the streets, shirt soaked in sweat, feet aching, then tripped and fell right outside the subway station. My knee slammed into the pavement, stinging. As I stood up, wincing and holding my knee, I happened to glance across the street at the massive digital billboard above the mall, white letters flashing on a black screen. "Do you regret ever falling in love? Regret ever loving someone?" I stood frozen, stunned in the middle of the rushing crowd, as if the world had slowed down. In a blink, Alex's face appeared, clear as if it were just yesterday. That year, he pulled me out of the interview room, his white t-shirt fluttering, the damp warmth of his hand gripping my wrist, yanking me out of the darkness. Those cramped nights on the bus, his shoulder brushing mine. The way he stood in front of me, shielding me from the wind, from the ridicule, from the harshness of the world. Regret ever loving him? Number. Never. Without the Emily who dared to love back then, there would be no Emily now. Without those nights serving bitter drinks, that burning sting at my throat, there would be no freedom on the market floor today, where I walk with a sharp smile and no need to raise a glass to prove my worth. If I hadn't once loved someone so freely, I wouldn't have learned to love myself fully, to embrace my scars and turn them into light. This God-forsaken life, every painful step wasn't for nothing, just winding roads that brought me to the dawn. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" A stranger stopped, worry in their voice, kindness in their eyes. I stood up, wiped the sweat off my brow, smiled, and shook my head. Gently but firmly. "Thank you. I'm fine." I kept walking, the folder in my hand suddenly lighter, as if the weight of the past had finally let go. My steps steady now, moving with the crowd, but my heart was free, like a bird released from a cage, flying toward the open sky. In the soft afternoon light of Los Angeles, the breeze carried a salty scent from the sea, brushing through my hair, cool and fresh. I paused in front of a small cafe, the glass door reflecting my image, and Emily no longer curled up, no longer hiding in anyone's shadow. I pushed open the door, the bell chimed, and the rich smell of coffee wrapped around me like a gentle hug. I sat down, opened my laptop, the screen lighting up with numbers and fresh plans, each line like a breath of freedom. Outside the window, children dashed by, their laughter ringing clear, sunlight gleaming on budding branches, a quiet reminder that spring always returns. After the divorce, I stopped looking back at San Francisco, stopped caring about A&E Tech or the rumors about Alex and Sophia. I lived, I worked, I laughed. Sometimes it still hurt when memories surfaced, but that pain was no longer a blade, just a passing breeze, reminding me I had walked through darkness and found the light. I once loved Alex, loved him madly, once thought he was my whole world. But the real world, I've realized, is me, Emily, of these free days, of these steps no longer needing anyone to guide them. I took a sip of coffee, the mild bitterness spreading across my tongue, and I smiled, typing my next plan on the laptop. Turns out, life doesn't need to be saved, doesn't need shelter. In the deepest dark, the one who stands up, wipes away your tears, and keeps going. That's always been you. And once you learn how to love yourself, every path leads to peace.